Parents gave me a joke gift on my birthday while treating my brother like royalty, so I exposed mom's affair and dad's dirty secret. I really hate my parents. Even though they haven't particularly let me starve all my life or given me a miserable existence, I still hate them for treating me like. I know I should be glad to just have a roof and food I can eat whenever I want. But when I look at how my parents treat me compared to my brother, I can't help but be petty and vindictive. All I want to do is hurt them the way they hurt me every day. And recently they crossed their limits. So I am thinking of taking revenge on them, but I don't know if I should go through with it or just keep my head down and live my life until I'm out of here. That's why I needed advice from this subreddit. So when it was my brother's birthday back in March, my parents made sure that he enjoyed his day to the fullest. I remember them throwing a huge surprise party where all his friends were invited. They gave him money when he went to school and told him to get the new PS5 that he had wanted for so long. They made sure his GF kept him busy until everything was ready at home. It was a pool party, and because people were underage, they ordered fried chicken, soda and pizza for the high schoolers. Other than that, my mom ordered a bunch of Korean snacks that you can munch on and which costs a fortune to get in Los Angeles. My brother even asked permission to go to his friend's house that night after the party, and surprisingly my parents told him to just be careful and enjoy himself. I remember the next day his clothes were reeking of booze when he came home. I could imagine how his night must have been. I was a bit jealous thinking about the freedom he got even though he's just 16. Now I don't particularly hate my brother. I know the partial treatment my parents show to me is not his fault. And it's especially hard to hate him when he brings me late night snacks or lets me use all his stuff because he feels bad how our parents don't exactly let me have anything I want when they fall over his every breath. In fact, he has gone as far as to ask for stuff on my behalf and then pass it on to me whenever I needed something badly. I remember how I really wanted neon lights for my room because all my Snapchat friends used to share those on their Snap, but I knew my parents wouldn't allow me, so I asked my brother to get them for me. When he asked them, they quickly agreed, and after a week of pretending to use the lights in his room, he passed them to me saying he doesn't like them anymore. So I can't really blame him for how I was treated. Still, it's hard to not be jealous sometimes, and his birthday was one of those times. After that day I thought when I turn 15 I'll try asking my parents for something too, and maybe just once they'll let me have some fun. But I was so wrong. On my birthday I woke up feeling happy and hopeful. I had practiced the night before to ask my parents' permission to go and hang out at my best friend's house. She told me that she had planned the whole evening for me and I had to convince my parents to have some fun, otherwise I'm going to miss out on everything. She promised me we were going to have karaoke and dance to BTS. Her parents have already ordered a cake for me and she had taken the liberty to invite a few of our friends. So I was really excited. Normally on my birthdays my brother would be the one to hang out with me after school because I always had a curfew and wasn't allowed to bring over anyone. So I went downstairs that morning and saw my parents sitting at the dining table. I went and grabbed my breakfast from the kitchen and was getting ready to go to school. I tried to sense my parents' mood before approaching them. They looked to be not angry, so I went and told them I needed to ask them something. I started talking about how they knew it was my birthday, and before I could even finish what I was saying they interrupted me. My mom said that it reminded her about the gift they got me. She went into the living room and came out with a box. It was a really big box, but when I held it, it seemed quite light for its size. I opened the wrap and unpacked another smaller box out of it. I was confused, but I opened that smaller box too, thinking it was a double packaging. But inside that was another smaller box. This went on for 3 more boxes until the last one, which contained a glitter bomb. I didn't know what to make of it. My parents had given me a customized joke box for my birthday. I was so hurt that tears were burning behind my eyes. I asked them what kind of joke was this, but all they said was that this wasn't a joke. I couldn't believe it because they gave my brother a party and a PS5, but all I got was a joke box. My dad replied to it saying, "Of course I don't get anything else." They said I should be glad they at least tried to be funny on my birthday when I wasn't supposed to even be born. They said for an accidental child it's a really generous gift. I was heartbroken. But I have been putting up with this sick, disgusting nature of theirs for my whole life, and I wasn't about to give them the satisfaction of breaking me. I pretended to laugh and asked them if they knew what was really funny. I told my dad that what was really fun for me was the moment I caught mom kissing one of the dads from my brother's basketball team. We were all supposed to be watching the game, but mom was too busy making out with another guy behind the school building. And I told mom that another thing I found really fun was the very interesting adult film collection I found on dad's computer accidentally when I used it for a school project because they wouldn't let me go out after school to a cyber cafe and have refused to buy me a laptop. Then I laughed like a maniac and ran out of the house. I still remember their shocked expressions after what I said. Now I'm at school and I'm really scared of going back home. And even though the thought of what they might do after I revealed those things is scary, my anger is still not satisfied and I want to hurt them even more. Should I just not go back? Or should I talk to my brother and ask for his help? Maybe I should actually just go all the way and plot my revenge for all the times they treated me like and just be done with it. After all, it's a guarantee that I'm going to be punished for my behavior. So why not do more harm and then get punished? Or maybe I should keep my mouth shut and just try to get through 3 more years of hell and focus on getting into a good college and building my own life. Update 1. First of all, I really appreciate all of the warm messages and good luck wishes people were sending me in the replies. It feels good to know that someone is on my side, even if I don't know y'all personally. I know I didn't give an update sooner, but it was because my phone was confiscated. After I came home that day, I found out that my parents had a huge fight. My brother was the one who told me because he was home that day. Turns out my dad already had his suspicion about my mom's affair, and when I revealed the truth, I knew he got his confirmation. That day my dad didn't come home, and my mom was so angry at me that she grounded me indefinitely and took away my phone, the only connection I had to the outside world. She even banned my brother from helping me out this time and threatened to take away his phone too if he tried to pull any tricks. But luckily she didn't get violent and harm me. I was still allowed the bare minimum, and today I got my phone back. My dad had moved out of the house a few days ago, saying he needed some space, and the general atmosphere of the house is very gloomy. I also dropped the idea of taking revenge or hurting them anymore, since it was hard enough to be isolated for a week, and if they decide to punish me anymore, I don't think I can take it. I'm going to just keep my head down and hope that high school passes by quickly. Update 2. I know many of you asked me how I was doing in DMs, but I couldn't really reply. Many things have been going on and I was struggling so much that it was too hard to even think about checking messages. My mom and dad have tried to work things out, but it just kept getting worse and worse. It got so out of hand that even my brother and I heard things we shouldn't have. I hate to talk about this, but it seemed like my mother refused to let my dad touch her, and that just made him more angry. We could hear them fight at 1 a.m. in the night, and I got so scared that I would just sneak into my brother's room. He'd play music and we'd both use the same headphones in order to block out the noise. Now my parents are living apart, but they still haven't gone for divorce. I overheard my mom say it was too much of a hassle to fight for custody when in a few years both of her children will be adults. They are going to wait until I turn 18 to legally separate. I don't know whether to be happy about it or sad. One thing is for sure, I would never be able to forget my birthday again after the disaster that was my 16th birthday. Backstory: I, 38 female, was burned in a propane gas explosion when I was a 2-year-old in 1986. I was burned over 85% of my body and sustained extensive damage to my airway. I've had about 90 plus surgeries since then, and I'll still need more in. My father and I have had a strained relationship, mostly because he disappeared after the fire. He didn't technically leave, but he took a long-haul trucking job that took him away from his family 46 weeks out of the year, and he was gone for 10 years. I have always felt that he abandoned his family when they needed him the most, using the pretense that he had to make money and support his family when really he was trying to escape the situation because couldn't deal with it emotionally. 4 years ago, I learned that the reconstruction they performed on my airway is deteriorating and that I would need to have a tracheotomy, breathing tube, implanted, and it will be permanent unless I can get approved for a full tracheal transplant. The first of this kind of surgery was performed in January of 2021, meaning that this surgery is highly experimental. When the doctor was telling me about the surgery, he mentioned that the closest specialist that could attempt it is in Cleveland, Ohio. I live in Mississippi. If I were approved for the surgery, not only will I have to pay for it, but I'll also have to pay for the 3 months of aftercare, and I will need to have a support system in place so that I don't spend 3 months alone, and I'll have to pay for that, too. I'm disabled and live below the poverty line, so this is going to be a monumental undertaking. My father drove me to the tracheotomy surgery, because I couldn't drive myself, and heard the doctor telling me all this, and as we're driving home afterward, he says to me, "Why don't we do this? We buy an RV that I and Ella, my 6-year-old, can live in instead of an apartment or hotel. Then, at the end of the 3 months, my dad, will just keep the RV." I asked him why he would keep the RV, and he told me it would be to make up for all the income he would lose. I was astounded by the suggestion, because, A, I didn't ask him to be my support system. My sister is more than happy to go, so no lost income for him. B, there's no possibility he would lose the amount of income necessary to buy an RV in the span of 3 months. C, I would be footing the bill for his entire trip. Rent, electricity, food, gas, internet, literally everything. And D, I know that my father's dream is to live out his retirement in an RV. He's told me so. When I told him I felt like he was using my surgery money to fund his retirement, he got angry and told me, "Everyone thinks parents are just supposed to give and get nothing in return. Nobody ever thinks about how this affects me. Why shouldn't I get something in return if I'm giving up 3 months of my life and income to go with you? My response was, don't go. Am I the a-hole? I, male 26, live in a studio apartment. I work late, so sometimes I don't get home till 10 p.m. or so. I got a new neighbor, male mid-20s I think, one apartment directly below me. 2 weeks ago he came over one time at night, 11:30 p.m., and asked that if I could keep it down. He's been hearing sounds like I'm doing major home repairs. I do acknowledge that I was doing things like repairing my bike or the fan, but I'll avoid doing that at night. Last week while I was vacuuming at around 11 p.m. he knocked his ceiling, my floor, and I felt fair enough I'd stop. Yesterday he came to my door and angrily shouted at me to stop acting like a teenager and stop making noise at night when people are trying to sleep. I told him that all I'm doing is running a blender because I'm baking. He said that it is disruptive because he wakes up early for work. He also said that I am stomping my feet all the time. Now I am not and wasn't sure what I was getting at. I already stopped doing housework at night, not going to stop using my kitchen. I also said I'm not stamping my feet but will try to walk quieter. That I'll be cognizant of noise but I'm not going to stop baking. He accused me of being immature and said I need to be respectful of those sleeping late at night and stop stomping my feet. I told him I'm doing nothing wrong and he walked away swearing at me.